Knowing that you don't have a plan B, it's like you burn your ships, like Cortés, he burned the ships. There's no way to go back.
Hanan, you are brave or you're totally crazy. You are taking challenges that in paper are impossible. You don't care and everything is working.
I am more stubborn than crazy.
Welcome, everybody, to The Risk in Startups. Today, our guest is Janan Knust, founder and CEO of KLog, one of Latin America's leading logistics and supply chain platforms. Hanan has built and scaled businesses across multiple industries, invested in startups, and operated at executive level long before the startup became a buzzword. His background is unusually global: hospitality leadership at Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts, entrepreneurship in Chile, and advanced executive education at Harvard Business School. But what makes Hanan especially interesting for this conversation is not just what he built, but how he thinks. Today, we are going to talk about risk, not as something to avoid, but something to understand, design around, and even use as leverage. Hanan, welcome to The Risk in Startups.
Thank you very much, Juan, and appreciate the intro. Thank you for the invitation.
Let's talk a little bit about you. Looking back, what early experiences both shaped the way you think about business and risk?
My story comes in an unusual chain of events. In my childhood, schooling and studying was a tremendous issue because my ability to not pay attention. Yeah. The fact of the matter that I could not stay still in a classroom really played a role in me as a kid. I thought that I was stupid, and the teachers play a very important role on making me know that I was problematic, and that was something that really touched me when I was a kid. And in order to avoid that, I put myself into a position in which sports was the trigger of releasing all those frustrations. And by not being a good kid at school, and being threatened all the time of being kicked out, etc., I was a sportsman until I was 18 years old. Unfortunately, I couldn't continue with that, and because of my problems or the problems I thought I had in schooling, I went to study an easy career, which was hotel management. I got a part scholarship in Switzerland, and I went on and lived for 14 years abroad in the hospitality industry. Why I'm telling you that? Because pretty much all my life has been taking risks. If that didn't work, I had no plan B, And the same in studying hotel management. I didn't know much about it. I had the feeling that I liked to serve or I liked to be involved with people. But again, I didn't have a plan B. I moved from Chile to Switzerland with 2 luggages at 18 years old, and I didn't have a plan B. So in my way of seeing things, I think that in an early stage, my life was taking risks, but being committed to those decisions because I didn't have a plan B. So taking risk at this early stage of life made me resilient. Knowing that you don't have a plan B, it's like you burn your ships, like Cortés, he burned the ships. There's no way to go back. Once you grow and you have a little bit more experience, you start moderating and leveraging those risks in terms of the decisions that you're taking. So
it's super interesting that you put yourself in a situation of protagonist. I will make things happen, correct?
Exactly. I moved with all my family to Mexico 6 months ago. What's the plan? We're going to triple the company in 3 years. And some people telling me, why? You're doing so well in Chile. When you have clear vision of what you're doing, risk is non-existent.
Moving from one house to the other is one of the most stressful things for most people.
Yes.
But for you, it was like, from one country to the other like nothing. There's a lot of risk involved, but it seems to me like in your mind you have everything super, super clear. There's no doubt of what's going to happen next, correct?
There's a tricky part in which you put risk and control in parallel. Having control is not lowering the risks when you understand that you are not in full control of anything. Of course, you have work to do. There is a beautiful word in Hebrew called ishtadlut, which is what you have to do, like your job, your work, your actions. If I don't do it, simply things will not happen. I'm not waking up in the morning expecting for the dollars to come to my doorsteps. I need to wake up with a good attitude. I need to have a plan that needs to be well thought, and I need to go through it. And there's changes in the way. But at the same time, when you're thinking and realizing that you're not in control, things become much easier because you become more humble towards those actions and towards those goals. And this is something that I've learned in the past years with the exponential growth that we've experienced in the company, with new talent coming in, with much more clients, more responsibilities, more money to administrate, etc.
And that's, I want to people on the other side of the screen put in perspective who you are and what you build. Tell us a little bit about KLog.
KLog is a digital freight forwarder. What's special about KLog? It's a couple of things. We completely bootstrapped the company to close to $100 million in revenue, several countries in Latin America. It's been challenging because, of course, you have players like Flexport, Fordo, Nowports, companies that compete with us that have raised hundreds and billions of dollars. Freight forwarding is a very commoditized business in which, with very low margins, you need to really attract volume in order to be profitable. And we understood that those processes, they need to be completely understood in order to be systematized, in order to put technology into it, and in order to make them more efficient. We don't own anything. We buy spaces with the shipping lines, airlines, trucking companies, and then we resell them, so we're a broker. Even Harvard studied us, and we have a case on two main points: how we build that without money, and we have decided to go without external capital. We face this growth and these challenges with an amazing culture that we've built, which is something very unique. Our culture is called A Fire. It's based on 5 values: A for attitude, F for focus, E for, in Spanish, incomodidad, being uncomfortable, as a state of mind, R for resilience, and E, it's a Spanish, estudio, which is studying, but really the root of it is being curious. So this special and unique culture that we have, rooted in our business, has given us a tremendous success. And this is what I believe makes a special company.
Hanan, you are brave or you're totally crazy. A guy in Chile with no previous experience in the industry, an industry that is extremely crowded, that requires a lot of capital to fight the big fight. So it seems like you're taking challenges that in paper are impossible. You don't care, and everything is working.
I am more stubborn than crazy.
When people tell stories about entrepreneurs, normally it's focused on, this guy started with nothing and now has a global company, right? And I don't think it's a good story to tell other entrepreneurs, because when an entrepreneur see that, for the other guy was easy and for them it's not, they believe that for some reason they're doing something wrong. They're in the wrong business or whatever. But actually a company, when it starts, is all, X and Y's. You have no idea what's going to happen with a lot of things.
I think that it's important to stress the fact that, you need to think very well, how do you arrive here? It doesn't matter if you're in an amazing position, receiving the World Entrepreneurial Award, or you are in the mud. You have to live both situations with the same exact perspective. It's not about the success in the moment, it's how you're going to achieve the next stage of decisions. And those next stage of decisions are the ones who are going to build the KLog, the Hanan, the Juan of tomorrow. Companies go through 3 stages, in my view. The first stage, which is understanding, which is the most difficult part. Many companies don't go well and don't go deep in the stage of understanding. Why is important that I'm doing what I'm doing? Why and with who I want to do what I do? What I am solving? Basic questions that need very deep understanding. Once you understand very well your business and why you're doing your business, you go to the second stage, which is conviction. Companies with conviction eventually will succeed. The third stage is the stage in which I am now, which is to resonate, people to get close to you because you resonate, because you're so convinced of what you're doing.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. When you started the company, people was telling you, this is not going to work. What happened in your mind? Your first reaction?
How we can fix it. I am a very action-oriented person. I strongly believe that, if you don't take words and thoughts into actions, they're nothing.
I was talking with Brian Eisenberg. He's an expert on the Amazon culture, and remember that I asked him, the Amazon culture is fantastic, but it's also true. There's a lot of people complaining about how stressful it's working for Jeff Bezos. And he told me, okay, go tell all the people that started the company with Jeff Bezos and they have stock options, which of those are complaining today? Of course, nobody's complaining. To be in a company that is relevant, it is stressful.
100%. Yes. And I love what you're saying. If you're not doing relevant things, most likely you will be invisible to stress. You will be invisible to backlash, reactions, etc. If you're doing things that are relevant, of course, you're connecting more. And that generates difficult conversations, difficult situations, and opportunities of change. So this is where we are now. And I see this as an opportunity to what comes next.
And did you have any experience leading a company this size before? Or this is your first experience as a CEO of a global corporation?
Yes, I was a dishwasher before. I started washing dishes. Then I was a server. Then I was a buzzer. Then a barman. Then a restaurant manager. I worked in a big corporation, which is Four Seasons, and I learned a lot from them. Even though I was, a restaurant manager at my highest rank, I was deeply touched by the values of the company, and this is something that I took with me. I don't think you need to run a big corporation or to have the prior experience because, like many, there's always a first time for everyone. And it's my CTO is his first job as a CTO. My CFO is his first role as a CTO. Many people in KLog are first timers. And I think as well, that's the beauty of it.
I think in your cultural model that you mentioned, I don't remember that one of the variables you mentioned was stubbornness. It has to.
No. It's being uncomfortable as a state of mind. Never be in a comfort zone. Never.
You can be uncomfortable and complain about it, but you guys are not complaining. You're uncomfortable
Because
and you move forward like crazy.
Attitude.
Yes. Okay.
The only thing that we control is attitude. I don't control clients don't pay me. I don't control if someone quits. What do I control? I control if I wake up in the morning like a lion and I do what I have to do with the best attitude and with the best people around me.
How challenging is your dyslexia to tell things and be understood properly? How you build a culture like yours and how you convince people as you're convincing people to stay like 6-8 years in your company when you have a communication challenge?
Trust is built by 3 pillars and at the same time is destroyed by 3 pillars. You build trust by being authentic, by being logic, and by being empathic. Those 3 things are the main pillars of trust. When you see the real me and you see that I am authentic with you, you trust me. But at the same time, you can lose your trust if you don't feel that the Hanan that is talking to you is real. By being logic, and for me, say that after A, there is B and C, etc., and I accomplish that in my promise, you trust me. But if I do A and then I do Z and I don't do as I said, your trust is broken towards me. And of course, being empathic in difficult situations when you don't look into a people's eyes and you don't really take care and pride in their inner situation, you lose trust. But at the same time, when difficult things are coming in your way and you really make time to the other person and you're empathic, you build trust. Those are the three things that we as humans, build upon when someone else is going to trust you and follow you. And this is how I operate.
And so we've been talking here, most of the things we've been talking here are related to constant cycles of risks. There is probably a lot of stress involved. Today, entrepreneurs are talking about, wellness and all that. Last one or two podcasts before, I interviewed a doctor in psychology, and he was talking about a research from Harvard that mentioned that stress was something negative only for those who believe that stress is something bad. But stress was empowering because it generates a lot of chemicals in your body that are good for you to become sharp and smart. For what I'm talking with you, seems like you embrace stress and risk as part of your daily life. And people on the other side of the screen that are entrepreneurs, they believe that the stories or the media tells about entrepreneurship, right? I started a company in my garage, I sold it for $1 billion. Seems like the reality is not like that and requires a lot of management of, your stress and how you make decisions. Could you leave a reflection on stress and risk?
Again, I can tell you right now, I'm building $100 billion company as we speak. I am right now building the next stage of the company. Right now, in the suffering. Let me tell you a story that puts this into context. We haven't sent a statement of accounts to our clients for the past 2 months. Imagine, the changing ERP is like terrible order in our financial statements. Cash flow is not coming in. We're paying from Chile. Mess. We're gonna fix it, but a mess. I received a call from the most important business university here in Mexico a month back, like in the core of the crisis, and they tell me, listen, we read your case. We are buying the rights from Harvard, and we want you to come and tour the whole country, telling the story of KLog and to our more than 1,500 students along Mexico. Would you be able to come? We will pay for everything. We will give you a couple of courses for your team. We will give you access to our network. We will give you access, of course. 70% of them are importers, exporters. And I'm having this phone call in my office and everything freezes and I look around and I said, this is falling apart. And I tell the guy, count on me. I am right now in Guadalajara. I am finishing the call with you and I'm going to IPADE now to give 3 lectures about the case study of KLog. I woke up today at 5 a.m. I went training. I prayed. I looked for emails. And I'm going now for 4 hours straight to do networking, talk, etc. I'm taking a plane at night. And next week, I'm again going to León and then Querétaro and then Mexico City, and for a whole month. What do you think goes through my mind? This guy is crazy, Hanan is crazy, or you know what? I'm so convinced that I have the right team, that this is going to be great for the company, that I have to do it. Again, I can make mistakes. this can be a mistake too. No, Hanan, we need you now in the operation. We need you now in the details. We need you now with the clients. I understand that. I took those risks in my equation. I flew people from Chile. I flew people from Peru. I trust my team. I am going to have to work a couple of more hours. I'm going to have to wake up earlier every day and go to sleep a little bit later. I'm going to have to cut on everything that will make me tired. I will not drink a sip of alcohol. I will do sports in the morning, like with more intensity to get more energy. I will eat well. Those things are what are going through my mind, because I know when this month ends, this is going to be a greater company.
It's really beautiful. That's a really, really good advice for entrepreneurs on the other side on how to deal with uncertainty, with risk, and the results are there. I mean, you build a company that probably most of your competitors are probably at this point scratching their head and saying, how this guy did all of this? And this is the way you did it. So, Hanan, thank you very much for being here. Next conversation is going to be with a company 3 times bigger than it is right now, right?
God will.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.